Thank you, Vasant, for the very generous introduction. And hello and welcome. So, at the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to Jammu Kashmir Study Center for giving me this opportunity, and my heartfelt thanks also go out to the organizers of this event. More than anything, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you in the audience. It's a significant audience for taking the time out on a Sunday afternoon to attend a seminar on this still burning issue. The topic is very appropriately titled Pakistan, Jihad and Politics, the Entanglement of Jammu and Kashmir. But before I begin, I would like to give an honest disclaimer. While I have kept largely abreast of the happenings in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 40-50 years, I do not have in-depth knowledge of its nuances, its undercurrents, except at a very, very superficial level. And like all of you, I also hope to be enlightened by the expert here, Shri Pradeep Kumar Sharma. And but in passing, I will say just this much. What we call as, or what we've been calling as the Kashmir problem, it is a polite way of describing a very grave civilizational problem. The so-called Kashmir problem is a festering wound created by the Nawab of cluelessness. He was the first Prime Minister, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. The contrast is actually incredible. On one hand, we have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who integrated more than 550 princely states into the Indian Union almost effortlessly. Actually, nobody remembers, the kind of hard work that I'm sure he had, day and night undertook to integrate. It was a huge task. So nobody remembers that. And what is more important is how he integrated the two stubborn Muslim states, one in Junagadh, in Gujarat, other in Hyderabad. In those two instances, Sardar Patel showed who the boss was. These guys, these so-called Nawabs, tucked their tails between their legs and said, sorry, we surrendered, and they came up. But think of this scenario. Had Hyderabad and Junagadh been handled by Nehru, today we would have had a total of 3 Kashmirs. And then we also have the same Nehru who pompously declared that Kashmir is my blood. So what happened ever since after he took over, after he made the claim that Kashmir is in my blood, the problem has become literally a bloody headache and a bleeding wound. So my approach to issues like this has always been civilizational, that is, to trace the civilizational and historical roots of problems like this. In this case, it's Jammu and Kashmir. And what has been happening in J&K for almost a century is an all-out and a no-holds-barred civilizational assault motivated by a religious ideology. Remember that Kashmir was not part of the India that was lost to Pakistan in 1947. And the entire territory that we lost to Pakistan, or that was carved out of undivided India, was nearly 33% of the land of undivided India. Just think about it. What were the original borders of undivided India? Just think of it, and then we kind of get a sense of the magnitude of the problem of partition and that of Kashmir. And more fundamentally, why did we lose it? Because by then the so-called Muslim leadership claimed that Muslims felt unsafe in a country where Hindus were majority. So what has happened in these 70 years? What has been the fate of Hindus in Muslim majority Pakistan and now Bangladesh? And what is the present fate of minority Hindus in Kashmir? And is this fate of minority Hindus limited only to Kashmir? What about Kerala? What about West Bengal and several parts of Tamil Nadu, where there are areas, localities and villages which are 100% Muslim and which have boards saying that non-Muslims are not allowed. It is not a mere word, it is a threat. Don't you dare enter our village if you are non-Muslim. So all these areas are no-go zones in the sense that they are all mini Kashmirs in the making. So the civilizational problem in Kashmir and is one of what I call Hindu astitva and Hindu asmita. These two words are not mere words. Words like astitva, asmita, they are not mere words, but they are lived cultural and civilizational experiences. They are our civilizational inheritance, our heritage. They are in our DNA. But from another perspective, or to put it bluntly, the so-called Kashmir problem can be summed up in just one word, that is jihad. Let's just recall the history of this jihad in India. Since the time Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Sindh, where is Sindh today? To which country does Sindh belong today? And when we think about this has happened over more than 1,000 years, that Sindh is today in Pakistan. And when we think about this history, it becomes very clear, automatically clear, where Kashmir will also be tomorrow if we still don't wake up. So the only difference between the jihad of the days of Muhammad bin Qasim and Babur and all those nice gentlemen, and that the jihad of today, the only difference is in its tactics, methods, technology and so on. The ideological core that motivates this continues to remain the same. A very perceptive scholar, I remember reading, I forget the name of the scholar, but he once made a beautiful analysis. Just as soon as India got independence, maybe a decade after that, he said that post-partition India still remains the unfinished dream of the Mughals. What is this unfinished dream of the Mughals? It is the complete Islamization of India. And let's not be under any illusion that Pakistan will stop trying to achieve this dream. It will never stop. A few decades ago, a slogan was hugely popular among some sections of the Muslim community. Ladke liye Pakistan, haske lenge Hindustan. We took Pakistan after a lot of fighting, but we will take Hindustan with a smile. This slogan was very, very popular in at least till the mid-80s or early 90s. This is not just a slogan, it has a deep psychological meaning, purpose and message. When the dream of Pakistan was achieved, it taught them a very powerful lesson. That at least some sections of Hindus had become tired, they had become fatigued after fighting for nearly 1,000 years, and they gave up 33% of their land. This is the message behind the slogan and behind the creation of Pakistan that they took. And eventually, by logical extension, that the Hindus will also give up the remaining Hindustan bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, only if we continue to exert pressure ruthlessly, relentlessly by any policy, by any device, diplomatically, politically, of course, the military option it is being using in different ways. So even today, imams and mullahs and all these assorted Muslim religious leaders, in their fanatical speeches show Pakistan. They point to Pakistan as one of the greatest successes of the global jihad that they've been waging since 1400 years. And these leaders give such speeches right here on Indian soil. What does this tell us? But for a moment, let's set aside what has already happened in Kashmir. The fact that Amarnath Yatra, which was going on smoothly till I think at least 2010, is now endangered. It faces a real jihadi threat and it is an alarming example. It is an outcome that has happened in just the last 10 years. Something that was going on uninterrupted till 2010 is now a point of danger. What do you lose when you lose Amarnath Yatra? So this is what I mean when I say we must examine such issues from a civilizational perspective. But to put this in proper context, let's quote Will Durant, why this becomes so important, examine it from this perspective. Quote, most of us spend too much time on the last 24 hours and too little on the last 6,000 years. I'll quote this again. Most of us spend too much time on the last 24 hours and too little on the last 6,000 years. So what do we lose when we lose a civilization? The short answer, everything. First of all, we lose territory, we lose land. That is, we lose our physical spaces. What happens then? We lose our living spaces, we lose our homes, we lose our cultural environment, we lose our temples, we lose our food, we lose our dress, and most fundamentally, we lose our gods. This is not an ordinary loss. For example, if one has to preserve, say, I'll take a random example, if one has to preserve the temple culture, there has to be a temple in the first place to preserve it. Ancient Greece, Rome, and Egypt, all of these ancient civilizations, pre-Abrahamic civilizations, had temples, and some of them still exist as ruins. But where is the culture, and where are those people who knows how to revive them? They stand as ruins, as perhaps museum pieces, archaeological and mere academic interest. And what about the temples in Pakistan? The temples in undivided India, of which region Pakistan is today. What about them? Remember that a lot of these temples were great pilgrimage centers, they were cultural hubs, they were knowledge centers, and now you go back and recall, put this in perspective, put the threat to Amarnath Yatra in this perspective, and you will realize the nature of the exact dangers that we face today. This is also the same message that hundreds of ruined temples, even in India, remind us. Where are the temples in Kashmir today? What is the first thing that comes to mind when we think of Kashmir? There is an element of sanctity. Like he said in his introduction, when we think of Kashmir, we think of its sacred caves and medicinal things and philosophy and meditation and all that. Where is that in our mind space now? It is no longer there. Or even if it exists, its people, that memory is slowly faded away. So the point is, if we cannot do something as fundamental as worshipping our own gods, recalling our own sacred spaces, we are destroyed at a very, very basic level. And with this destruction or loss of territory, temples, etc., we also lose people. This is what is meant when we read about and hear things like demographic danger. This is what it fundamentally means. Or to put it in a different way, we lose, when you lose people, real living people, we lose our cultural memory, and that with that loss, we also lose our history. And the erasure of history is a crime against memory. So let me put this in context. How much of pre-partition Hindu history of Pakistan do we actually remember today? How much of it is taught? The pre-partition Hindu history of Pakistan and Afghanistan, for example. How much of it do we all know? I don't know any, I hardly know anything. Think about it. Pakistan is only as recent as 70 years, and 70 years is less than a drop in the ocean of time. And the memory of Pakistan's Hindu past is almost completely erased. Now, it is one thing that Pakistan doesn't teach the truth of its Hindu past to its own children and in schools and colleges. But what about India? Where are those Indian school textbooks which teach the Hindu past of Pakistan? Where are they? Even advanced university textbooks also don't do this. They don't cover this. So in many ways, I think this is the psychological victory of Pakistan. It is also the psychological victory of the forces that create Pakistan, and these forces are still active, alive, and very powerful in today's India, in the India that we are living today. And for India, unless this is rectified, it is one more step towards civilizational suicide. The same thing is what we most noticeably observe in Kashmir. For example, how many people of Kashmiri origin today can even read and write the Sharda script? This is a real loss of language, and with this loss of language, the entire literary corpus is lost, and when you lose language, you lose your culture. To understand the full magnitude of the loss of Kashmir, I would sincerely urge all of you to read Talhana's classic Rajatarmini. I'm sure all of you have heard the name of this work, but I would urge all of you to read it cover to cover, and every Hindu home should have a copy of Rajatarmini. I'll cite just one incident from it. This is an account in the rule of Maharaja Chandrapida, hailing from the Kalkutta dynasty. Chandrapida ruled Kashmir in the 6th century, and once he decided to build a Narayana temple in Parihasapura. The name of Parihasapura is today being corrupted, mutilated as Paraspur. We don't know what it means. The land where the temple was supposed to be built belonged to a cobbler. So when the king's officers approached him, they offered him money and said, we'll buy your land and build a temple. The cobbler said, no, I'm not doing it. So the official pressure on the cobbler increased, it escalated, and the cobbler could not take it anymore, and he directly petitioned Chandrapida. He did not just stop at the petition, he also added an appeal to it, stating the reason for not parting with the land, although he knew that building a temple was a pious act. He stated the reason, and then he said that I'm making a request to Maharaja Chandrapida to come and approach me directly and settle the matter. So Chandrapida, when he heard this appeal, he visited the cobbler's house and he said, and the cobbler told him the reason why he is not giving his land. He said, this is my ancestral property. It is a sacred memory to me, it's a sacred inheritance. My father gave it to me, my grandfather gave it to my father, my great-grandfather gave it to my grandfather, and so on. So it is from the level of emotion and feeling and attachment. I find it impossible to part with it. So Chandrapida listened to him patiently, and then he said that, fine, I respect your sentiment, and he assured him that he will not take away the land by force. Sometime later, the cobbler thought about this. See, he's not asking this land for some, illegal, whatever, some ignoble purpose or whatever, but he wants to build a temple. So he called for Chandrapida again, and he said, look, you have shown the magnanimity by coming to my house. Maharaja coming to my house, and you're doing this for a good cause, to build a temple. So I appreciate this from the bottom of my heart, and as a reciprocal gesture, I'm going to donate the land. Don't pay me anything. So the king also recognized this innate nobility in this cobbler, and he said, no, this is not happening. I will pay the fair price to the land and then build a temple. This was the culture of statecraft and kingship in Kashmir. How many of us even know about all these things today? What is also noteworthy in this whole episode is the fact that Chandrapida himself came to the doorstep of a person who is today, some OBC or something, whatever you want to call them, treated as lower caste. This is how far we have fallen. And all of you have definitely heard the name Lalitaditya Muktapida. So Lalitaditya was the same Chandrapida's son, and it was under Lalitaditya's rule that the kingdom of Kashmir reached its pinnacle, he defeated Tibet, he established trade and commercial relations with China, and at the height of it, Lalitaditya's empire stretched from Afghanistan, Punjab, Kanya and Bengal. Except Kanya which is today's Kannauj in UP, except Kanya Afghanistan is not part of India. Part of Bengal, a large part of Bengal is not part of India. Significant part of Punjab is not part of India. This used to be the kingdom of Lalitaditya of Kashmir. And as all of you are aware, it was Lalitaditya who built the Martanda Sun Temple, and this was a very grand temple. If I'm sure if you have visited it, it still looks grand, whatever ruin shape it is in. It stood rock solid for nearly 750 years until Sikandar Partition decided to destroy it as part of his jihad to convert all of Kashmir to Islam. This temple has still not been rebuilt. And what does it tell us? What does it tell us? That especially after India became politically independent in 1947, this temple is still not been rebuilt. In a place that was renowned for its valor, splendor and high culture, what do we have in Kashmir today? Jihad crazed boys, young boys, 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, stone builders. This is the loss which operates at multiple levels. As it is well known, Kashmir is also one of the world's greatest centers of Sanskrit. In many ways, it was the cradle of much of Sanskrit. It was home to several dozen generations of Sanskrit linguists, commentators, grammarians, poets, dramatists, aestheticians, and so on. It had also attained a high degree of excellence in philosophy to the extent that there is a separate school of Kashmir Shaivism. The tragedy today is that today Kashmir Shaivism is being preserved everywhere else in the world except in its own home. And the Sharada Pita, which stood as an iconic cultural, spiritual and philosophical center for more than 600 years, is today a ruin. But speaking of which, let me tell you a very interesting fact which you can verify on your mobiles after this talk is over. Do you know how the official Wikipedia entry describes the Sharada Pita? I'll quote from it directly. Sharada Pita is an abandoned Hindu temple, an ancient center of learning in the Pakistani administered territory of Azad Kashmir. This is Wikipedia. Let me repeat it for you. Sharada Pita is an abandoned Hindu temple, an ancient center of learning in the Pakistani administered territory of Azad Kashmir. Why doesn't our blood boil like this? Why are we even accepting this as something that is normal with a sense of helplessness? This is the same Sharada Pita where Adi Shankara composed his extraordinary Prapanchasara Stotram, and he was decorated as he sat on its Savarna Pita. This Sharada Pita also attracted some brilliant minds like Kalhana, Vailotsana, Kumara Jiva, Hemachandra and many others. And speaking of brilliant minds, even a small sample of the kind of towering people that Kashmir gave us is really astonishing. Jonaraja, Kalhana, Anandavardhana, Jayanta Bhatta, Bilhana, Bhattopala, Utpaladeva, Lakshmana Gupta, who was one of the teachers of Abhinava Gupta. Then we have Kshemendra, Ballata, Rudrata, and of course the multi-faced genius Abhinava Gupta. Perhaps his name is the only one that is still in public memory, cultural memory at some levels. So, but for Abhinava Gupta, perhaps the depths of Anandavardhana's Dhanyaloka would have remained obscure for a long time. If you want a separate discussion on this, please approach Arjun Bharadwaj, who is a resident expert on this subject. And so profound was Abhinava Gupta's influence and impact that he came to be referred, or he earned one of the sobriquets as Abhinava Gupta Gupta Pada. The name Gupta Pada means, it refers to a snake. Gupta means secret or hidden, and Pada is feet or legs. So in our tradition, it is said that a snake's legs are hidden, and tradition also attributes to Abhinav Gupta that he was regarded as an avatar of Maharshi Patanjali, who in turn is regarded as an avatar of Adishesha. So the long story short is that the more we dig, the deeper we swim into Kashmir's cultural heritage, the more treasures we discover in its ocean of cultural and civilizational heritage. But the tragedy today is that we actually need to dig. We actually need to dig and swim. Ideally, these treasures should have been kept alive as a living memory as opposed to what we are doing now. What we are doing now is a postmodern. So before closing, I'll offer a few points regarding the Entanglement of Jammu and Kashmir, which is one of the titles of this seminar. The fact that more than 4 lakh Kashmiri Hindus were driven out of their homes, slaughtered, their daughters raped and all that. The fact that this tragedy happened by a systematic religious cleansing by jihadi forces is well known. As well known is also the fact that this jihad was not accidental. It was carefully planned with ample support of Pakistan. This is all well known. But there are 2 phases to this coin. The first is obviously Pakistan, but the second is the failure and the complacency on the part of Kashmiri Hindus themselves. I'm sorry to say this, but it is better to face a bitter truth and bury our heads in sand. Kashmiri Hindus, in spite of their long lessons of history, had failed to be vigilant. I say this with a great amount of responsibility and sadness. They failed to be vigilant. They were too trusting for their own good. The price that they continue to pay is the loss of their astitva and asmita. The same thing that I spoke of in the beginning. You cannot have a deadly neighbor like Pakistan and not be vigilant. Second, what about the Hindus in Jammu? So, once again, we can recall what I mentioned at the beginning, that even the Amarnath Yatra is now threatened by jihadis. If we are not vigilant, the same fate will fall upon the Hindus in Jammu as well. What does it tell us that hardcore Kashmiri separatists, the terror supporters, all these Azad Kashmir slogan chanters, what does it tell us that all these guys are working as faculties, as professors, assistant professors, and students in our top universities? And the JNU campus, even today, has people openly talking about, Azadi, Bharat ki barbadi, Bharat tere tukde tukde honge, inshallah. People are still chanting these slogans, although not openly, but it hasn't gone away. Are we living in India or Pakistan? When was the last time that you showed, you watched any TV footage from the Pakistani media which claimed Bharat tere tukde tukde honge? I haven't come across a single footage from Pakistani media claiming for the, barbadi, Bharat ki barbadi. It is Indians who are doing this. It is our own people who are doing this. Which other country, and how would Pakistan react, how would it respond if one of its universities had, professors and lecturers and students who chanted slogans for the liberation of Balochistan? How would Pakistan deal with it? The fact that this has been prevented at the inception, what does it tell us? They are more concerned about, they value their national security more than we do. Isn't this a message that this is conveyed? Which other country tolerates this kind of thing? Which other country tolerates this kind of thing and pampers India breakers for such a long time? This is also the true face of Jammu and Kashmir entanglement. But at a very fundamental level, the real entanglement is in the loss of what I call the cultural and civilizational vigor. This loss has eroded self-confidence if it is sustained long enough. In India's case, it is sustained for arguments, academic seminars, plans, all these plans, they are all the ideal methods to solve complex problems, but they are not methods and they cannot be substitutes for real action on the ground. Let me quote Mike Tyson in this connection regarding plans. Quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Then like a rat, they stop in fear and freeze. This I think is actually a very great attitude for Hindus to cultivate. And unfortunately, Pakistan has learned how to use this attitude with great effectiveness. Not out of its own merit, but thanks largely to the series of spineless, lazy and corrupt governments and bureaucrats, journalists, media heads that we have had for about 6-7 decades. These leaders, bureaucrats and journalists have demonstrated their love for Pakistani biryani and ghazals more than their loyalty towards the sovereign unity and integrity of India. The latest proof of their Pakistan love is the manner in which they supported Pakistan's indirect jihad in Pulwama and condemned India's retaliation in Balakot. And so even the most cultured people, the most refined people must retain the intensity of valor both for self-defense as well as for the national defense. In our tradition, this spirit of valor is known as the spirit of Kshatriya. And the day Kashmir lost its Kshatriya was the beginning of its downfall. And let me not limit this only to Pakistan, only to Kashmir or Jammu or Ladakh or Kerala, or West Bengal or Tamil Nadu. I will extend this throughout India. What has happened to Kashmiri Hindus will happen to other Hindus across India unless we wake up and unless we continue to stay vigilantly awake. This is not a warning, it is the truth. Thank you very much.